All right, let's start with something biblical. Imagine an ancient plague, a creature so agonizing it was literally written into scripture as the fiery serpent.
Now, what if I told you that serpent wasn't just a story? What if it's a real biological creature? And get this, humanity is on the absolute brink of wiping it off the face of the earth forever. That's what we're talking about today. We're diving deep into Dracunculus medinensis, the guinea worm. And this, right here, is the story of its final stand. You see, to really get what a big deal this is, you have to understand just how long we've been fighting this thing. This isn't some new disease. We're talking about a truly ancient enemy.
Just take a look at this timeline. We're talking descriptions from ancient Egypt, more than 3,500 years ago. We've literally found its calcified remains inside a 3,000-year-old mummy. It's the prime suspect for that biblical plague of fiery serpents. And it wasn't until, 1758 that science finally got around to giving it a formal name? But we've known about this creature for basically all of recorded history.
So, what is this thing? This monster that's been plaguing humanity for millennia? Well, let's pull back the curtain and unmask the culprit. Okay, scientifically, its name is Dracunculus medinensis. But look at its classification here. The most important thing to notice is its kingdom, Animalia, right? We're not dealing with a virus or some tiny bacterium here. This is an animal, a type of roundworm. And that is a huge distinction. It's a metazoan. That means it's a complex, multicellular animal with specialized parts. Think of it like this. A protozoan parasite like malaria, that's just a single cell. But the guinea worm, well, that's a full-blown creature you can actually see with your own eyes.
And get this, it's an endoparasite. Endo meaning inside. Its entire life cycle from start to finish plays out inside its host. It's not like a tick or a flea on the outside. This thing is making a home deep inside the body.
And this is where it gets truly nightmarish. The adult female can grow up to 120 centimeters. That's almost 4 feet long. Just try to wrap your head around that. A worm nearly as tall as a child, coiled up and living inside of you.
So, with that lovely image in your mind, let's talk about the parasite's life cycle, because it's basically a silent, year-long nightmare for whoever is unlucky enough to be its host. So, how does this all start? It's completely invisible. It begins with just one gulp of water that's contaminated with these tiny little water fleas, or copepods. They're basically just an Uber for the worm's larvae. Once you swallow them, those larvae get to work. They bust out, burrow through your intestinal wall, and start growing up. After they mate, the little male worm dies off, but the female, she starts this long, slow migration through your body. And here's the really terrifying part. Look at step 5. This whole process takes 10 to 14 months, and the person carrying it has absolutely no idea. No symptoms, nothing. And then, after about a year, you get this. The horrifying grand finale of the worm's journey. The now massive female has reached the skin, usually on a foot or a leg, and it forms this incredibly painful burning blister. That's the fiery part of the fiery serpent. The pain is so intense, it drives the person straight to the nearest water source to cool it down. And that is exactly what the worm wants. You can see it in the picture on the right. The second that blister touches water, it bursts open, and the worm pokes its head out to release hundreds of thousands of new larvae, starting the whole miserable cycle all over again. It's a gruesome, absolutely brilliant, horrifying cycle, right? But this is where the story takes a turn. We're pivoting from body horror to one of the single greatest public health success stories in human history. Let's get into the global takedown. The scale of this achievement, it's just staggering. Look at this chart. In the mid-1980s, we had an estimated 3.5 million cases of guinea worm every single year. Now, fast forward to today, and we're looking at a provisional count of 15. Not 15,000, not 1,500, 15 total. That's a reduction of over 99.99%. It's just mind-boggling. So how on earth do we pull that off? Especially when you consider this, and this is absolutely crucial. There is no medicine that can kill this worm. There's no vaccine to prevent it. The entire strategy, the whole victory, is built on one thing: prevention. It's about breaking that life cycle with really simple but brilliant solutions. We're talking about things like teaching people to filter their drinking water, even if it's just through a piece of cloth.
It's about making sure infected people don't go into the water sources. And it's about relentless health education and surveillance to track down and contain every single case.
And all of that has brought us right here, to the end game. But the final few yards in this fight, well, they have a surprising and pretty frustrating new twist.
This table right here, this tells the story of the new front line. Check it out. Human cases are in the single digits in places like Chad and South Sudan. Amazing. But now look at the column for animal infections. We're seeing hundreds of cases in domestic dogs, especially in Chad and Cameroon. And it's the exact same parasite. This means the animals are now acting as a reservoir, which could potentially reinfect humans and undo decades of incredible work. It's the final boss of this eradication effort.
So you might be thinking, okay, what does this mean for someone in, say, the Netherlands or somewhere else in the world? Well, the good news is the disease can't really establish its cycle there. But because of global travel and that year-long silent incubation period, the worm can travel too. Think about it. Someone could get infected in Chad, feel perfectly fine, fly to Amsterdam, and then a year later, bam, this fiery serpent starts emerging from their foot. For doctors there, it's not a public health crisis, but it's a huge diagnostic puzzle. It's just a perfect reminder that in our connected world, no disease is ever truly just over there.
And in this final stage of eradication, you can't leave anything to chance. Just seeing a worm isn't good enough anymore. We need cutting-edge diagnostics. Yeah, we still use microscopy to look for larvae, but now we have powerful molecular tools like qPCR. That lets scientists confirm with 100% certainty if a worm from a dog in Chad is the same species that infects humans. And even cooler is serology. This is a blood test that can spot the infection months before the worm even thinks about emerging. For surveillance, that is an absolute game changer. It lets health workers get ahead of the problem before that cycle can continue.
By the way, for all of you who want to go even deeper down this rabbit hole, this whole explainer was put together using a Gemini deep search. We've got a full list of all the sources in the linked Notebook LM document, which you can find in the description below.
So all of this brings us to one last really big question. If we pull this off, Dracunculus medinensis will be only the second human disease ever to be completely eradicated, right after smallpox. And it'll be the first one we've beaten without a vaccine or any medicine. So with this new challenge of animal infections, what's it really going to take to win this final battle against the fiery serpent? You know, if you found the story of a modern-day victory over an ancient monster as incredible as I did, please do subscribe to the channel for more deep dives like this. I'd love to know what you think about this amazing public health achievement. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.